Commander Zexgar of the Suliban Galactic Alliance sneered at the blue-green orb on his view screen. Earth, a primitive backwater, would fall swiftly to their superior technology and tactics. He'd seen countless worlds crumble before the might of the Suliban, and this one would be no different. "Send a scouting party," he ordered, his voice dripping with disdain. "Assess their defenses, if you can even call them that." Little did Zexgar know, his overconfidence would be the first crack in the Suliban's galactic dominance. As the alien scouts descended upon North America, they encountered something unexpected. U.S. Army Captain Stephen Evans leading a routine training exercise. The Suliban expected easy prey, but what they found was a force of nature. The captured aliens revealed a chilling truth during interrogation. A massive invasion fleet orbited Earth, poised to strike. Humanity's response was swift and united. Governments worldwide pooled resources, setting aside old rivalries in the face of this existential threat. Captain Evans, recognized for his exceptional leadership, received a field promotion. He now stood at the helm of a multinational task force, Earth's first line of defense against the impending Suliban onslaught. As the task force prepared for battle, fate intervened. A Suliban escape pod crashed near their base, carrying an unexpected ally. Ilara, a Suliban scientist opposed to the invasion. She brought with her crucial intelligence on Suliban weaknesses and technology, forming an uneasy alliance with Captain Evans and his team. The calm before the storm was short-lived. Commander Zexgar, enraged by the scouting party's humiliation, launched a full-scale attack on Earth's major cities. The invasion caught humanity off guard, resulting in staggering casualties and widespread destruction. But humans are nothing if not resilient. Captain Evans led a daring counterattack, using Ilara's information to exploit Suliban vulnerabilities. The first wave of alien forces fell back, their ships reduced to smoldering wreckage in Earth's orbit. This unexpected resistance forced Commander Zexgar to reassess his strategy. He called for reinforcements, unwittingly turning what he thought would be a quick conquest into a prolonged conflict. As Earth's military leaders strategized their next move, Captain Evans worked closely with Ilara. Together, they developed new weapons and tactics to combat the superior Suliban technology. Their collaboration was not without tension. Cultural differences and mutual suspicion created a palpable undercurrent of distrust. Yet beneath it all, a spark of attraction grew between the human captain and the alien scientist. The fate of humanity hung in the balance as Earth's forces prepared for a major offensive against the Suliban fleet. The upcoming battle would determine whether Earth would fall to alien conquerors or emerge as a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy. Commander Zexgar and the Suliban Galactic Alliance had laughed at Earth, dismissing it as an easy target, but they were about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate a planet defended by human soldiers. The coming conflict would show the galaxy that humanity was not to be trifled with, and that Earth was far from the primitive backwater the Suliban had assumed it to be. The smoldering wreckage of Suliban ships dotted Earth's orbit, a testament to humanity's unexpected resilience. Commander Zexgar paced the bridge of his flagship, his scaled skin flushing a deep orange with fury. The easy conquest he had anticipated had turned into a protracted battle against a species he had grossly underestimated. On Earth, the newly formed United Earth Defense Force, UEDF, wasted no time in fortifying their position. Captain Stephen Evans stood in the bustling command center of UEDF headquarters, his eyes fixed on the holographic display of global defense networks. The room hummed with activity as military personnel from nations across the world coordinated their efforts. "Captain Evans," a voice called out. He turned to see Ilara, the Suliban defector, approaching with a data pad in hand. "I've made a breakthrough in adapting our electromagnetic pulse technology to Suliban shield frequencies." Evans nodded, his expression a mix of curiosity and lingering mistrust. "Show me." Ilara's fingers danced across the pad, bringing up schematics of a sleek, cannon-like device. By inverting the polarity of our standard EMP and modulating the output to match Suliban's shield harmonics, we can create a weapon capable of disabling their ships without causing widespread damage to our own infrastructure. The captain's eyes widened as he grasped the implications. This could change everything. How soon can we begin production? Before Alara could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. A young lieutenant rushed up to Evans, his face pale. Sir, we're detecting multiple Suliban strike forces. They're targeting power plants, communication hubs, and agricultural centers across the globe. Evans' lips pursed. Zexgar's changing tactics. He's trying to cripple us by going after our resources. He turned to Alara. We need those EMP weapons now. Get your team working around the clock. As Alara hurried off, Evans assembled his top strategists. The room filled with the grim faces of military leaders from every corner of the earth. We need to hit them where it hurts, Evans declared, his voice carrying across the tense silence. I propose a covert operation to infiltrate a Suliban command ship. We gather intel, find their weaknesses, and use that information to turn the tide. Murmurs of approval and concern rippled through the group. General Chen, representing China's forces, spoke up. A bold plan, Captain, but who would you send on such a dangerous mission? Evans straightened, his eyes blazing with dedication. I'll lead the team myself. Hours later, Evans stood before a small group of elite soldiers, handpicked for the infiltration mission. Among them stood Alara, her presence drawing wary glances from the human operatives. I know some of you have reservations about working with a Suliban, Evans addressed the elephant in the room, but Alara's knowledge is crucial to our success. We're all on the same side now. The team boarded a captured Suliban scout ship, its systems jury-rigged to mask their approach. As they neared the massive Suliban command vessel, looming in Earth's orbit, tension filled the cramped cockpit. Approaching docking bay, the pilot announced, his voice tight with concentration. If their systems detect any anomalies, we're toast. The scout ship slipped into the cavernous docking bay, nestling among identical vessels. As the team disembarked, Evans marveled at the alien architecture surrounding them. Organic curves melded with metallic structures in a way that defied human engineering. Moving swiftly and silently, they navigated the labyrinthine corridors of the Suliban ship. Alara's guidance proved invaluable as she led them past security checkpoints and through maintenance access ways. In the ship's data core, Evans and his team worked feverishly to download critical intelligence. Schematics of Suliban vessels, tactical plans, and to their surprise evidence of a growing dissent among the Suliban ranks flashed across their data devices. Suddenly, alarms blared. We've been detected, Alara hissed, her eyes wide with fear. The corridors erupted in chaos as the team fought their way back to the docking bay. Suliban weapons fire sizzled past them, leaving scorch marks on the organic walls. Two of Evans's soldiers fell in the firefight, their loss a sharp pain in the captain's chest. There, Alara pointed to a small hatch. It leads to an exhaust port. We can use it to reach the outer hull. The team regrouped at the scout ship, launching amid a hail of Suliban fire. As Earth grew larger in their view screen, Evans allowed himself a small smile. Despite the losses, the mission was a success. Back at UEDF headquarters, the intelligence they had gathered proved to be a goldmine. New defensive strategies were formulated, and the EMP weapons were quickly put into mass production. Evans stood before the UEDF leadership, presenting the findings from the infiltration mission. The data also reveals a faction within Suliban society that opposes this invasion, he reported. This could be a key diplomatic opportunity. Debate erupted among the assembled leaders. Some pushed for an all-out assault using the new intelligence and weapons, while others argued for opening negotiations with the dissenting Suliban. As the arguments raged, Evans found his thoughts drifting to Alara and the complex web of emotions their shared experiences had created. He knew that whatever path the UEDF chose, the coming days would test not only humanity's resilience, but also his own understanding of friend and foe. The decision was made. The UEDF would launch a major counteroffensive, striking at the heart of the Suliban fleet with their new EMP weapons. As preparations began, Evans received his orders. He would lead a key strike team in the upcoming battle. As he left the briefing room, Evans spotted Alara waiting in the corridor. Their eyes met, 1,000 unspoken words passing between them. Whatever the future held, they both knew that the lines between human and Suliban, ally and enemy, had been irrevocably blurred. The weight of their shared experiences and the looming battle ahead created an electric tension between them. "Captain," Ilara said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I have something to show you." Evans followed her to a secluded corner of the base, where she revealed a small device concealed in her hand. "This is a Suliban neural link. It can tap into our fleet's communication network. With it, we can coordinate our attack more effectively." Evans studied the device, his expression a mix of curiosity and caution. "How did you get this?" "I've had it since I defected," Ilara admitted. "I wasn't sure if I could trust you with it until now." Their eyes met, and Evans nodded slowly. "Thank you, Ilara. This could change everything." As they began to plan their next move, alarms blared throughout the facility. Operation Thunderbolt was about to commence. The hangar bay was a flurry of activity as Evans and his strike team boarded their new stealth shuttle. The sleek vessel hummed with power, its hull gleaming with the latest in human Suliban hybrid technology. "All systems check out, Captain," the pilot reported as Evans strapped himself in. "EMP weapons are primed and ready." Evans activated his comms. "Strike team, sound off." One by one his team responded, their voices tight with pre-mission tension. Ilara's voice came last, steady and determined. As the shuttle lifted off, Evans watched Earth's surface fall away beneath them. The planet's atmosphere was alight with explosions and weapons fire as the global counteroffensive began. In orbit, the space battle raged in full force. Human fighters darted between massive Suliban warships, their new EMP weapons leaving swathes of disabled alien vessels in their wake. The stealth shuttle weaved through the chaos, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to Suliban sensors. "Approaching the command ship," the pilot announced, "preparing for infiltration." Evans turned to his team. "Remember, our primary objective is to disable their command and control systems. Stick to the plan, watch each other's backs, and we'll make it through this." Using Ilara's knowledge, they bypassed the ship's external defenses and docked with a maintenance airlock. As the team filed out of the shuttle, the alien environment of the Suliban vessel enveloped them. Organic curves melded with metallic structures, creating an unsettling, almost living landscape. Evans reacted first. "Take cover." The corridor erupted in weapons fire. Plasma bolts sizzled past Evans' head as he dove behind a bulkhead. His team responded with practiced efficiency, laying down suppressing fire while maneuvering into defensive positions. "Grenade out," one of Evans' soldiers called. A small, pulsing sphere arced through the air, detonating in a flash of blinding light and disorienting sound. As the last Suliban fell, Evans assessed his team. "Status report." "2 wounded, sir," his second-in-command replied. "Nothing critical." Evans nodded grimly. "Patch them up quickly. We need to keep moving." They pressed on, encountering increasing resistance as they neared the ship's control center. Evans' mind raced, analyzing each situation and adapting their tactics on the fly. His quick thinking and combat prowess inspired his team to push beyond their limits. Approaching the bridge, Evans made a critical decision. "Johnson, take half the team and head for the power core. Sabotage it, but give us enough time to complete our mission here." "Understood, sir," Johnson replied, leading his group down a branching corridor. Evans, Ilara, and the remaining team members fought their way to the bridge entrance. As the doors hissed open, they were met with a barrage of weapons fire. Through the chaos, Evans locked eyes with the imposing Suliban figure at the center of the bridge, Commander Zexgar himself. What followed was a fierce close-quarters battle. Evans found himself facing off against Zexgar, the Suliban commander's superior strength and reach balanced by the human's agility and adaptability. Zexgar landed a powerful blow that sent Evans reeling, but the captain recovered quickly. He ducked under Zexgar's next swing, using the alien's momentum to throw him off balance. A series of swift strikes to vulnerable points in Suliban physiology, knowledge gleaned from Ilara's briefings, left Zexgar staggering. With a final decisive move, Evans swept Zexgar's legs out from under him and pinned the Suliban commander to the deck. "It's over," Evans panted, his voice firm despite his fatigue. Zexgar's eyes darted around the bridge, seeing his officers subdued by Evans' team. With a mix of rage and resignation, he growled, "I yield." As Elara secured Zexgar, Evans moved to the ship's communication systems. "Get me a channel to the entire Sulaban fleet," he ordered. Moments later, Evans addressed not just the Sulaban armada, but all combatants in Earth's orbit. He revealed the existence of the anti-invasion faction within Sulaban society and called for an immediate ceasefire. The response was immediate and chaotic. Some Sulaban ships powered down their weapons, while others continued to fight. Earth's forces, caught off guard by this development, reacted with a mix of confusion and cautious optimism. As Evans watched the battle unfold on the command ship's view screens, a new threat emerged. A massive Sulaban dreadnought, dwarfing even the command ship, powered up its weapons. "This is Admiral Krell," a harsh voice boomed over the comms. "The invasion will proceed as planned. Any Sulaban who stands down will be treated as a traitor to our people." Evans turned to Elara, his expression grim. "We've just turned this into a three-way fight." With Zexgar secured and the command ship under their control, Evans began to formulate a plan. They had a powerful asset in their hands, and he intended to use it to end this conflict once and for all. The hunt for Admiral Krell's flagship was about to begin, and with it, the most dangerous phase of their mission. As Evans issued orders to his team and coordinated with Earth's forces, he caught Elara's eye across the bridge. The unspoken tension between them had only grown stronger in the heat of battle. They both knew that the coming hours would test not only their skills and courage, but also the fragile trust they had built between human and Sulaban. The command ship's engines hummed to life, preparing to join the fray. Evans took a deep breath, steeling himself for the challenges ahead. The fate of two civilizations now rested on his shoulders, and he was determined to see this through to the end. The captured Sulaban command ship surged forward, its engines pulsing with alien energy as Evans guided it deeper into the solar system. "Status report," Evans barked, his eyes fixed on the monitor before him. "All systems operational, Captain," one of his officers responded. "Sulaban techs holding steady." Evans nodded, his mind racing through potential strategies. "Elara, what can you tell us about Admiral Krell's likely position?" The Sulaban defector stepped forward, her fingers dancing across the alien controls. "Based on Sulaban tactics, he'll want to maintain a clear view of the battlefield while staying out of immediate danger. I suggest we scan the outer reaches of the system." Following Elara's advice, they initiated a long-range sweep. Minutes ticked by in tense silence until a blip appeared on their sensors. Evans leaned forward, studying the readout. "That has to be Krell's flagship. Helm, set an intercept course. Stealth systems to maximum." As they approached, the true scale of Krell's defenses became apparent. A vast, intricate web of energy fields and sensor arrays surrounded the flagship, creating a nigh-impenetrable barrier. "How are we supposed to get through that?" Johnson muttered, voicing the crew's collective concern. Elara stepped up, her eyes gleaming with willpower. "I can help navigate us through. The fields have a pattern, complex but not random. With the right approach, we can slip past their defenses." Evans nodded, trusting in her expertise. "You heard her. Elara, take the helm. Everyone else, battle stations. This is going to get rough." Under Elara's guidance, the command ship weaved through the defense grid. Alarms blared as energy tendrils lashed out, grazing their shields. The ship shuddered, but Elara's deft piloting kept them just ahead of danger. They were nearly through when a harsh voice cut across their comms. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted space. Power down immediately or be destroyed." Before they could react, space itself seemed to warp around them. A contingent of Sulaban battlecruisers materialized from behind Mars, cutting off their escape route. "It's a trap!" Elara gasped, her hands flying over the controls. "Krell anticipated our move." Evans' mind raced, assessing their options. They were outgunned and outmaneuvered, caught between the approaching battlecruisers and Krell's heavily fortified flagship. "Sir, we're being targeted by multiple weapon systems," the tactical officer reported, his voice tight with tension. In that moment of crisis, Evans made a decision. Deploy the EMP weapons. Target the battlecruisers. But sir, we haven't fully tested them in combat, Johnson protested. Brilliant pulses of energy erupted from their ship, engulfing the nearest battlecruisers. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the massive Suliban ships began to drift, their systems overloaded by the electromagnetic pulse. It worked, Johnson exclaimed. 3 enemy ships disabled. A 4th is losing power. The command ships surged forward, threading the needle between the disabled Suliban vessels. Evans took manual control, his years of flight experience evident in every deft maneuver. They scraped past a drifting battlecruiser, shields flaring as debris bounced off their hull. As they cleared the ambush, Krell's flagship loomed before them, its massive form dominating the view screen. Sir, our EMP weapons aren't having any effect, the weapons officer reported. Their shielding is too advanced. Evans gritted his teeth, realizing the full scope of the challenge before them. We need to get aboard that ship. It's the only way to stop Krell. He turned to Alara, an unspoken question in his eyes. She nodded, understanding his intent. The teleportation systems, they're our best chance of infiltrating undetected. Agreed. Johnson, you're in command of the ship. Keep them busy out here. Alara, you're with me. We're going aboard. As Evans assembled a small strike team, reports flooded in from Earth. General Thompson's voice crackled over the comms, authorizing a full-scale assault on the remaining Suliban forces in orbit. Minutes later, Evans, Alara, and 3 of his best soldiers stood on the teleportation platform. The air crackled with energy as the alien device powered up. With a blinding flash, they dematerialized, reappearing moments later in a dimly lit cargo hold aboard Krell's flagship. The disorientation of teleportation faded quickly as years of training kicked in. They had barely taken in their surroundings when alarms blared. A squad of Suliban security forces burst through a nearby door, weapons raised. Contact! Evans shouted, diving behind a stack of crates as plasma bolts sizzled past. The cargo hold erupted into chaos. Evans and his team returned fire, their practiced coordination evident in every move. Alara proved her worth, her intimate knowledge of Suliban tactics, allowing her to anticipate and counter their moves. As the firefight intensified, Evans caught Alara's eye across the room. Without a word, they moved in tandem, covering each other as they advanced. Their growing bond manifested in an almost preternatural awareness of each other's actions. The last Suliban guard fell, and Evans signaled for the team to move out. They navigated the twisting corridors of the alien ship, encountering pockets of resistance along the way. Each skirmish honed their teamwork, but also drained their resources and energy. Finally, they reached a massive bulkhead, the entrance to the bridge. As Alara worked to bypass the security protocols at a nearby engineering station, Evans and the others formed a defensive perimeter. How much longer? Evans called out, his voice tense as he heard the approaching sound of Suliban reinforcements. Almost there, Alara replied, her fingers flying over the alien controls. Their systems are more complex than I anticipated. Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently, nearly throwing them off their feet. A deep, ominous hum filled the air. Alara's eyes widened as she read the data streaming across her screen. They've activated some kind of gravitational weapon. It's targeting Earth. Evans felt a chill run down his spine. The stakes had just gotten even higher. We need to get through that door now. As if in response to his urgency, the bulkhead began to slide open. But before they could celebrate, a barrage of weapons fire forced them back. Admiral Krell's voice boomed from within the bridge. I must commend you, Captain Evans. Your persistence is admirable. But it ends here. Evans exchanged a determined look with Alara. The final confrontation was at hand, with the fate of Earth hanging in the balance. As they prepared to storm the bridge, Evans knew that every second counted. The gravitational weapon was charging. Krell stood between them and victory, and the entire war hinged on what happened in the next few minutes. With a nod to his team, Evans took a deep breath and prepared to make his move. The battle for Earth's survival was about to reach its climax. climactic moment. With a swift nod to his team, Evans surged forward, leading the charge onto the bridge. The scene that greeted them was chaos incarnate. Suliban officers scrambled to their stations, alarms blaring as the massive view screen displayed Earth, ominously framed by pulsing energy readouts. At the center of it all stood Admiral Krell, his cybernetic enhancements gleaming under the harsh lights. "Intruders!" Krell's voice boomed, his augmented arm transforming into a vicious-looking weapon. "Eliminate them!" Evans ducked as a barrage of energy bolts sizzled overhead. "Ilara, get to the main console. We need that weapon offline." Ilara nodded, her lithe form darting between cover as she made her way to the far side of the bridge. Evans provided covering fire, his practiced aim dropping 2 Suliban guards in quick succession. As his team engaged the bridge crew, Evans found himself face-to-face with Admiral Krell. The Suliban leader's cybernetic eye glowed an eerie red as he sized up his opponent. "You've come far, human," Krell sneered, his augmented arm whirring as it reconfigured into a blade. "But your journey ends here." Evans barely had time to raise his weapon before Krell was upon him. The Admiral's enhanced speed was staggering, his blade slicing through the air where Evans's head had been a split second before. Evans rolled, coming up in a defensive stance, his combat training kicking into high gear. Krell roared, charging forward with inhuman speed. Evans sidestepped, using the Suliban's momentum against him. His fist connected with Krell's jaw, but the impact felt like striking solid metal. Evans shook his hand, pain shooting up his arm. Across the bridge, Ilara's fingers flew over the alien controls. "Evans, I'm in the system, but this is more complex than I anticipated. I need time." The two leaders circled each other, the sounds of battle fading into the background. Evans studied Krell's movements, noticing a slight delay between the Admiral's organic reactions and his cybernetic responses. It wasn't much, but it was something he could exploit. Krell lunged again, his blade arcing towards Evans' chest. This time, instead of dodging, Evans stepped into the attack. He grabbed Krell's organic arm, using the Admiral's own strength to throw him off balance. As Krell stumbled, Evans struck, delivering a series of rapid blows to the junction where flesh met machine. The Suliban leader howled in pain and rage, his cybernetic arms spasming. Evans pressed his advantage, raining down strikes on Krell's weakened side. Each impact sent shockwaves of pain through Evans' hands, but he could see the damage mounting. The news hit Evans like a physical blow. He hesitated for a split second, and Krell seized the opportunity. The Admiral's organic fist connected with Evans' jaw, sending him sprawling across the bridge deck. Tasting blood, Evans rolled to his feet, reassessing the situation. Krell advanced, his cybernetic arm hanging limp at his side, but his organic one still very much a threat. "What's the plan, Ilara?" Evans called out, circling Krell warily. Evans nodded, a new strategy forming in his mind. He feinted left, then dropped low, sweeping Krell's legs out from under him. As the Admiral fell, Evans pounced, using his full body weight to pin Krell to the ground. "It's over, Admiral," Evans grunted, struggling to keep the cybernetically enhanced Suliban immobilized. "Call off your forces." Krell thrashed violently, nearly throwing Evans off. "Never! I'll see your world burn before I surrender." Evans gritted his teeth, searching for a way to end this without killing Krell. His eyes fell on the pulsing lights of Krell's cybernetic implants. With a silent apology to whatever remained of the Admiral's humanity, Evans drove his elbow into the glowing red cybernetic eye. The impact sent a shower of sparks across the bridge deck. Krell's body went rigid, then fell limp as his systems overloaded. The Admiral lay unconscious, but alive. "Krell's down!" Evans shouted. "Ilara, status on the weapon?" "Almost there," she replied, her fingers a blur over the controls. "I'm rerouting the gravitational distortions to create a localized field around the ship. It should contain the effects, but it's going to tear this vessel apart." As if on cue, the flagship shuddered violently. Alarms blared as the ship's structure groaned under the immense gravitational forces now focused inward. "We need to evacuate," Evans ordered, hauling the unconscious Krell to his feet. Johnson, get our team to the escape pods. Alara, can you trigger a ship-wide evacuation order? Alara nodded, inputting a series of commands. Moments later, Suliban voices echoed through the ship's communication system, urging all personnel to abandon ship. As they made their way through the corridors, Evans was struck by the chaos around them. Suliban crew members rushed past, some pausing in shock at the sight of their unconscious leader being carried by the human intruders. "Keep moving," Evans urged, both to his team and the Suliban they encountered. "The ship's breaking up." They reached the escape pod bay just as another violent tremor rocked the ship. Evans helped load Krell into one of the pods, ensuring he was secure before turning to his team. Alara appeared at his side, her face streaked with sweat and grime. "That's everyone. We need to go, Evans. The ship won't hold together much longer." Evans nodded, ushering her into the last pod before climbing in himself. As the hatch sealed, he caught a final glimpse of the flagship's interior through a nearby viewport. Conduits burst, showering the corridor with sparks and debris. As they descended towards the blue marble of humanity's homeworld, Evans felt the weight of what they'd accomplished settle over him. The immediate threat was over, but he knew the real challenges were just beginning. She nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "We did. But what comes next, I wonder?" Evans had no answer for her. As Earth grew larger in their viewport, he could only hope that the bonds forged in battle, between humans and Suliban alike, would be strong enough to weather the uncertain future that awaited them. As Earth grew larger in their viewport, Evans turned to Alara. "We did it. But what comes next, I wonder?" Her question hung in the air as their escape pods streaked through the atmosphere. Within hours of their return, Evans and Alara found themselves thrust into a whirlwind of debriefings, medical examinations, and hurried strategy sessions. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. Earth's leaders scrambled to respond to the new reality, a defeated Suliban invasion force, thousands of alien prisoners, and a captured enemy admiral. Evans and Alara barely had time to process their own experiences before being appointed to the newly formed Human-Suliban Relations Committee. Their first meeting took place in a repurposed conference room at United Earth Defense Force headquarters. Evans surveyed the faces around the table, a mix of military personnel, diplomats, and civilian experts. Alara sat beside him, her presence a comforting reminder of their shared ordeal. "Let's get started," General Thompson said, his gruff voice cutting through the tension in the room. "We're facing an unprecedented situation. Captain Evans, given your first-hand experience with the Suliban, what's your assessment?" A murmur of disagreement rippled through the room. Colonel Victor Graves, a decorated war hero with a reputation for hardline tactics, spoke up. "With all due respect, Captain, these aliens tried to destroy our planet. We should be focusing on containment, not cooperation." Evans met Graves's intense look. "I understand your concerns, Colonel, but I've seen firsthand the cost of this conflict on both sides. If we don't find a path to peace, we're just setting ourselves up for more violence down the line." As the weeks passed, Evans and Alara found themselves working around the clock. They shuttled between detention centers, government offices, and public forums, trying to bridge the vast cultural divide between humans and Suliban. One afternoon, they visited a high-security facility where Admiral Krell was being held. The Suliban leader sat across from them, his cybernetic enhancements deactivated, looking far less imposing than he had on his flagship. "Admiral," Evans began, "we appreciate your willingness to speak with us. Your insights could be crucial in preventing further conflict." Krell's organic eye narrowed. "And why should I help you, human? You've defeated me, imprisoned my people. What more do you want?" Alara leaned forward, her voice soft but firm. "We want to understand, Admiral, your people's history, your motivations for the invasion. Without that knowledge, how can we hope to forge a lasting peace?" As they left the facility, Evans turned to Alara. "It's not justification, but it's context. We can work with this." She nodded, her expression thoughtful. "It's a start, but we have a long way to go." Their efforts began to bear fruit. Suliban prisoners, treated with dignity and exposed to human culture, started to open up. Cultural exchange programs were established, allowing carefully vetted Suliban to interact with human communities under close supervision. But not everyone was pleased with these developments. Evans noticed a growing undercurrent of resentment among certain factions of the military and civilian population. Whispers of alien sympathizers followed him and Alara through the corridors of power. One evening, as they were leaving a particularly contentious committee meeting, Evans received an urgent message from General Thompson. "My office now," it read. They found the general pacing behind his desk, his face grim. "We've got a situation," he said without preamble. "There's been an attack on a Suliban detention center in Nevada. Multiple casualties, both Suliban and human guards." Evans nodded, his mind racing. "We need to get ahead of this. Increase security at all detention centers, reach out to Suliban leaders to prevent retaliatory actions, and we need to find these Earth-first bastards before they can strike again." As they left Thompson's office, Evans couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a new and dangerous phase in human-Suliban relations. The battle against the alien invasion might be over, but the fight for peace was only just beginning. Evans stared at the message on his datapad, his brow furrowing as he processed its implications. The attack on the Suliban detention center had sent shockwaves through the fragile peace they'd been working so hard to build. He glanced at Alara, who nodded grimly. "We need to act fast," she said, her voice low and urgent. Before Evans could respond, his comm unit chirped. "Captain Evans, report to the war room immediately," came General Thompson's voice, terse and commanding. Minutes later, Evans and Alara found themselves standing before a panel of Earth's highest-ranking military and political leaders. The tension in the room was palpable, faces etched with worry and barely suppressed anger. "Ladies and gentlemen," began the Secretary General of the United Earth Government, "we face an unprecedented crisis. The attack on the Suliban facility has exposed deep-rooted issues within our own ranks. It's clear that we need a new approach." She paused, her gaze sweeping the room before settling on Evans. "Captain Stephen Evans, in light of your exemplary service and unique experience with the Suliban, we are appointing you as the interim head of a newly formed United Species security force." Evans felt the weight of every eye in the room upon him. He straightened his posture, meeting the Secretary General's gaze. "I'm honored, ma'am. What exactly will this entail?" "Your mission is twofold," she replied. "First, to root out the extremists threatening our hard-won peace. Second, to foster cooperation between humans and Suliban in matters of security. We believe your unique perspective will be invaluable." As the meeting concluded, Evans's mind raced with the enormity of the task before him. He turned to Alara, who had been appointed as his second-in-command. "Looks like we've got our work cut out for us," he said, managing a wry smile. Alara nodded, her expression a mix of dedication and concern. "Indeed, but if anyone can make this work, it's you, Stephen." The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Evans assembled a diverse team of human and Suliban specialists, pushing them through intensive cross-species training programs. He watched with pride as former enemies learned to work together, combining human tactical knowledge with Suliban technological expertise. One morning, as Evans observed a joint training exercise, his comm unit buzzed urgently. "Captain, we have a situation," came the voice of his operations officer. "A group of Suliban militants has seized control of the Harmony space station. They're threatening to crash it into Earth unless we release all Suliban prisoners." Evans's blood ran cold. Harmony Station was a symbol of human-Suliban cooperation, a massive orbital platform housing thousands of civilians from both species. Its destruction would be catastrophic, both in terms of loss of life and the peace process. "Assemble the team," he ordered, already moving towards the command center. "We're going up there." As Evans strode into the bustling command center, he was met by Alara, her face grim. "Stephen, I've been analyzing the communication patterns of the militants. Something doesn't add up." "Colonel Graves's communications," Evans finished, his eyes widening as the implications sank in. "You think human extremists are involved?" Evans furrowed his eyebrows, anger and dedication coursing through him. "Then we'll just have to be prepared for anything. Brief the team. We launch in 30 minutes. The USSF strike force assembled in the hangar bay, a mix of human and Suliban operatives checking weapons and equipment. Evans addressed them, his voice carrying over the pre-launch bustle. Listen up. We're facing a complex situation up there. Expect resistance from both Suliban militants and possible human collaborators. Remember your training, trust your teammates regardless of species, and we'll get through this. As their stealth shuttle approached Harmony Station, Evans felt a familiar tension building in his chest. He glanced at Alara, seated beside him in the co-pilot's chair. Her presence was reassuring, a reminder of all they'd been through together. Approaching insertion point, the pilot announced, activating Suliban phase shields. Now! The shuttle shimmered, its hull becoming translucent as it phased partially out of normal space. They slipped past the station's outer defenses undetected, docking at a maintenance airlock. Evans led the first team out, his pulse rifle at the ready. The station's corridors were eerily quiet, emergency lights casting long shadows. They encountered their first resistance near the central hub, a mixed group of Suliban militants and human extremists. The firefight was intense but brief. Evans watched with a mix of pride and amazement as his human and Suliban operatives worked in perfect synchronization, covering each other's blind spots and exploiting their unique abilities. As they fought their way deeper into the station, Evans's calm crackled to life. "Captain," came Ilara's voice, tense with urgency. "We found something. A hidden communications hub. The data here, it could expose the entire conspiracy." "Secure it," Evans ordered, ducking as a plasma bolt sizzled past his head. "We'll rendezvous at your—" His words were cut off by a violent tremor that shook the entire station. Alarm klaxons began to wail. "Status report," Evans barked into his comm. "Sir," responded one of his Suliban tech specialists, "the station's reactor core has been compromised. It's going critical. We have less than 30 minutes before total meltdown." Evans's mind raced, weighing his options. They needed that data, but thousands of lives were at stake. He made his decision. "Ilara, take half the team and start evacuating civilians and prisoners. I'll lead a group to the reactor control room and try to stop this meltdown." There was a moment of hesitation on the other end. "Understood," Ilara finally responded, her voice tight with emotion. "Be careful, Stephen." As Evans led his team towards the reactor, he pushed away thoughts of the danger, of the possibility that this could be the last time he saw Ilara. They had a job to do, and failure wasn't an option. They fought their way through increasingly desperate waves of militants, human and Suliban alike. As they approached the reactor control room, Evans caught sight of a familiar face, Zira, the female Suliban commander, leading the militants. "Give it up, Zira," Evans shouted over the din of battle. "This station is about to tear itself apart. Let us stop the meltdown." Zira's response was a barrage of plasma fire that forced Evans and his team into cover. The firefight that ensued was brutal, testing the limits of their cross-species cooperation. Evans found himself fighting back-to-back with a Suliban engineer, their movements perfectly coordinated as they pushed forward. With a final desperate lunge, Evans tackled Zira, disarming her after a brief struggle. But the victory was short-lived. The reactor's warning sirens grew louder, more urgent. "Sir," called the Suliban engineer, his hands flying over the control panel. "The meltdown sequence is locked in. We can't stop it through normal means." Evans joined him at the console, his mind racing. "What if we rerouted power through the auxiliary systems? Use the station's structural integrity field to contain the reaction?" The engineer's eyes widened. "It's never been done before, but yes, theoretically it could work. We'd have to manually reconfigure the power relays, though." "Then let's do it," Evans said, already moving towards the access panel. What followed was a frantic race against time, human intuition and Suliban technical knowledge combining in a desperate bid to save the station. Evans found himself elbow-deep in circuitry he barely understood, following the engineer's rapid-fire instructions. With seconds to spare, they made the final connection. The reactor's roar began to subside, its energy contained by the station's own systems. Exhausted but triumphant, Evans leaned against the console, allowing himself a moment of relief. His comm unit crackled to life. Stephen? Alara's voice came through, tense with worry. Stephen, are you there? As the USSF secured the remaining militants and began processing the wealth of intel they'd recovered, Evans found Alara on the station's observation deck. They stood side by side, looking out at the blue marble of Earth below. Alara nodded, her shoulder brushing against his. It is, and a reminder of what we're fighting for. Evans turned to her. Seeing the same mix of exhaustion and willpower he felt mirrored in her eyes. This is just the beginning, isn't it? There's still so much work to do. Yes, Alara agreed, her gaze returning to the planet below. But after today, I believe we're up for the challenge. As they prepared to return to Earth with their prisoners and the damning evidence they'd uncovered, Evans couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest tests, both personal and professional, still lay ahead. But looking at Alara, feeling the strength of the team they'd forged, he knew they would face those challenges together. The return journey to Earth was tense, the captured militants secured in the shuttle's holding cells while Evans and Alara pored over the data they'd recovered. As they entered Earth's atmosphere, the full weight of their discovery became clear. This goes deeper than we imagined, Alara said, her eyes scanning the decoded transmissions. These aren't just isolated extremist cells. There's a pattern here, a coordinated effort across both human and Suliban factions. Evans leaned in, studying the complex web of connections displayed on the holoscreen. But coordinated by whom? Neither side has the resources or reach to pull this off alone. Their questions would soon be answered. Upon landing, they were immediately ushered into a high-security briefing room at USSF headquarters. The room buzzed with activity as analysts and senior officials pored over the newly acquired intelligence. Admiral Chen, the USSF's chief of operations, called the room to order. Captain Evans, Commander Alara, your team's work on Harmony Station was exemplary, but what you've uncovered here, it changes everything. A holographic display flickered to life in the center of the room, showing a three-dimensional map of the solar system. Scattered throughout were pulsing red nodes, each representing a point of Zorn influence. Ladies and gentlemen, Chen continued, his voice grave, we are dealing with a threat beyond anything we've faced before. The Zorn Collective, an advanced alien civilization, has been manipulating both humans and Suliban, prolonging our conflict for their own ends. Chen nodded his approval, and Alara immediately set to work, coordinating with Suliban liaisons to gather their top analysts. Over the next few days, Evans found himself in a whirlwind of activity. He was tasked with forming an elite strike team, combining the best operatives from both species. In the training simulations, he watched with pride as humans and Suliban learned to complement each other's strengths, overcoming years of mistrust and hostility. During a particularly grueling combat exercise, Evans noticed a human soldier, Private Chen, struggling with a piece of Suliban phase shift technology. Without hesitation, a Suliban engineer named Krell stepped in, guiding Chen's hands as they calibrated the device together. That's it, Evans said, a smile breaking across his face. That's what will give us the edge against the Zorn. As the team prepared for their mission, codenamed Operation Unity, Alara made a breakthrough. She burst into Evans' office, her eyes wide with excitement. Stephen, we found it, she said, pulling up a holographic display of Neptune and its moons. The Zorn outpost. It's on Triton, hidden beneath the surface ice. Evans studied the data, his mind already formulating a plan. Excellent work. How did you pinpoint it? We cross-referenced anomalous energy signatures with gaps in our long-range sensor data, Alara explained. The Suliban's expertise in phase variance detection was crucial. We would never have found it without their help. As they prepared to brief the USSF leadership on their findings, alarms blared throughout the facility. Emergency lights bathed the corridors in an eerie red glow as personnel rushed to their stations. Report! Evans barked into his comm unit as he and Alara sprinted towards the command center. Sir, we're under attack, came the frantic reply. Multiple targets in orbit and planetside. Our defense grids are offline, and we've lost contact with the Suliban fleet. They burst into the command center to find it in chaos. Tactical displays showed waves of unidentified craft swarming Earth's orbital defenses, while ground-based sensors reported massive energy surges in major cities worldwide. "It's the Zorn," Ilara said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They must have detected our intelligence gathering. They're making their move." Evans turned to her, his eyebrows furrowed. "Then we make ours. Get our team ready. We're launching now." Within the hour, Evans's strike force was aboard their specially modified stealth ship, the Shadowblade. Its hull shimmered with a combination of human cloaking technology and Suliban phase-shifting capabilities, rendering it virtually invisible to conventional sensors. As they broke free of Earth's gravity well, Evans addressed his team. "I won't lie to you. What we're about to attempt is unprecedented and extremely dangerous, but the fate of both our species hangs in the balance. Together, we will put an end to the Zorn's manipulation and forge a new future for humans and Suliban alike." The journey to Neptune was tense, the crew working in near silence as they monitored for any sign of Zorn activity. As they approached Triton, Krell, the Suliban engineer, spoke up from his station. "Captain, I'm detecting a massive energy signature beneath the moon's surface. It matches the theoretical profile of Zorn quantum technology." Evans nodded. "Take us in, nice and easy. Maintain phase shift integrity." The Shadowblade glided through Triton's thin atmosphere, its advanced systems compensating for the extreme cold and low gravity. As they neared the coordinates of the hidden base, the moon's icy surface seemed to ripple in part, revealing a vast alien structure. "By the stars," someone whispered, awe evident in their voice. Evans steeled himself for what was to come. "All right, people, you know your roles. Let's remind the Zorn why they should have left our species alone." As the assault team prepared to disembark, Evans caught Ilara's eye. There was so much he wanted to say, but now wasn't the time. She nodded, understanding passing between them without words. "Good luck, Stephen," she said. "I'll coordinate the counteroffensive from here. Show them what humans and Suliban can do together." Evans led the first wave out of the Shadowblade, the frigid air of Triton biting through his thermal suit. Ahead loomed the entrance to the Zorn facility, its architecture a disorienting blend of organic curves and crystalline structures. As they approached, the facility's defenses sprang to life. Beams of coherent energy lanced out, forcing the team to take cover behind ice formations. Evans watched as a human sniper and a Suliban infiltrator worked in tandem, the sniper providing covering fire, while the Suliban phased through solid matter to flank their attackers. "Push forward," Evans ordered, leading a charge towards the main entrance. They encountered their first Zorn warriors inside, biomechanical monstrosities that moved with unnatural speed and precision. The battle that ensued was like nothing Evans had ever experienced. The Zorn's advanced technology clashed with the combined ingenuity of humans and Suliban. Evans found himself fighting alongside Krell, their movements synchronized as if they'd trained together for years. As they fought their way deeper into the facility, Evans couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. Humans and Suliban, once bitter enemies, now stood united against a common foe. Whatever the outcome of this battle, he knew that the bonds forged here would not easily be broken. The team finally reached the central chamber, where a massive quantum computer pulsed with otherworldly energy. Evans and Krell immediately set to work, their fingers flying over alien controls as they attempted to shut down the Zorn systems. Suddenly the air shimmered, and 3 Zorn leaders materialized before them. Tall, ethereal beings with eyes that seemed to peer into the depths of reality itself. Evans felt an immense pressure in his head as the Zorn attempted to overwhelm them with psionic attacks. But to his amazement, he found he could resist. Beside him, the Suliban members of the team had formed a mental link, extending their natural psychic defenses to their human comrades. "You're wrong about us," Evans growled, fighting through the mental assault. "Our differences don't make us weak. They make us stronger than you can imagine." With a surge of combined willpower, the team pushed back against the Zorn's attack. In that moment of distraction, Evans saw his opening. He lunged for the central control terminal, inputting the final sequence of the virus they'd prepared. The Zorn leaders reeled back, their mental grip faltering as their systems began to crash around them. Alarms blared throughout the facility, and the quantum computer's pulsing quickened to a frantic pace. "It's done," Krell announced, his voice tight with tension. "The virus is spreading through their network. We need to evacuate now." As the team fought their way back to the Shadow Blade, they could feel the Zorn outpost shuddering around them. The once seamless walls cracked and buckled, ice and alien alloys groaning under immense strain. They barely made it back to the ship, the last team member diving through the airlock as the facility behind them began to collapse in on itself. As the Shadow Blade shot away from Triton's surface, Evans watched the moon's icy crust heave and splinter, burying the Zorn's secrets beneath tons of frozen nitrogen. In orbit above Neptune, they received Alara's transmission. Her face appeared on the main view screen, tired but triumphant. "Stephen, we did it. The Zorn fleet is in full retreat. Earth and the Suliban homeworld are safe." Evans allowed himself a moment of relief, but he knew their work was not nearly finished. As the Shadow Blade set course for Earth, he turned to his team, human and Suliban alike, with a newfound respect and camaraderie. "Well done, all of you," he said, "but let's not celebrate just yet. We've won this battle, but something tells me the Zorn won't give up so easily. We need to be ready for whatever comes next." As they began the long journey home, Evans couldn't shake the feeling that this victory, monumental as it was just the beginning of a much larger story. The galaxy suddenly seemed vaster and more complex than ever before, filled with both wonders and dangers beyond imagination. But looking at his crew, seeing the unity and strength they'd forged together, he felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The journey back to Earth was filled with a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. As the Shadow Blade glided into orbit, Evans gazed out at the blue-green sphere below, marveling at how close they had come to losing it all. The Zorn threat had been neutralized, but at what cost? Upon landing, Evans and his team were immediately whisked away to USSF headquarters for debriefing. The halls buzzed with activity as humans and Suliban worked side by side, their former animosity replaced by a shared sense of purpose. Evans nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "Thank you, sir, but we can't let our guard down. The Zorn may be defeated, but there's no telling what other threats are out there." In the weeks that followed, Evans found himself at the center of a whirlwind of activity. The USSF expanded rapidly, integrating more Suliban personnel and adapting Zorn technology for their own use. He watched with pride as human and Suliban engineers worked together, unlocking the secrets of quantum computing and phase shift technology. One morning, Evans received a summons to USSF command. As he entered the sleek conference room, he was surprised to see not only Admiral Chen, but also the Suliban High Command in attendance. Chen stood, his expression serious. "Captain Evans, in light of your exceptional service and the new era of cooperation between our species, we are promoting you to the rank of Admiral. Furthermore, you've been selected to command the USSF's first joint species exploration vessel, the USS Unity." Evans blinked, momentarily stunned. "Sir, I'm honored, but surely there are more qualified candidates?" A Suliban commander named Vex stepped forward, his skin shifting subtly in the light. "Admiral Evans, your actions on Triton prove that you understand the true strength of our alliance. The Unity needs a leader who can bring out the best in both our species." As Evans absorbed the news, his mind raced with possibilities. The Unity represented the pinnacle of their combined technological achievements, a ship capable of pushing the boundaries of known space. Over the next few months, Evans threw himself into preparations for the Unity's maiden voyage. He handpicked a diverse crew of humans and Suliban, each chosen for their expertise and ability to work across species lines. To his delight, Ilara agreed to serve as his executive officer and chief science advisor. The day of launch arrived with much fanfare. As Evans stood on the bridge of the Unity, he couldn't help but marvel at the seamless integration of human, Suliban, and adapted Zorn technologies surrounding him. The ship hummed with potential, eager to embark on its first mission. Evans nodded, settling into the command chair. "Very well. Helm, take us out. Set course for Neptune. It's time we established a proper defensive perimeter for our system." The Unity glided out of space dock, its advanced engines propelling it smoothly past the orbit of Mars, then Jupiter and Saturn. As they approached Neptune, Evans ordered a thorough scan of the outer system, searching for any remaining Zorn outposts. Days turned into weeks as they methodically swept the vast expanse beyond Neptune's orbit. The crew worked tirelessly, their efforts strengthening the bonds between human and Suliban team members. It was during a routine sensor sweep of the Kuiper Belt that Alara's voice cut through the quiet hum of the bridge. "Admiral, I'm detecting an anomalous energy signature. It's unlike anything we've seen before." Evans leaned forward, instantly alert. "Can you pinpoint the source?" Alara's fingers flew over her console. "Yes, sir. It appears to be emanating from a large structure hidden among the icy bodies of the Kuiper Belt." "Helm, take us in closer. Tactical, maintain full defensive readiness," Evans ordered, his mind racing through possibilities. Could this be another Zorn facility they had missed? As the Unity approached, the true nature of the structure became clear. A massive, ring-like object slowly rotated in the void, its surface etched with intricate patterns that pulsed with an inner light. "Sir," Alara breathed, her voice filled with awe, "I believe this is some kind of jump gate. The technology, it's far beyond anything we've encountered. Even the Zorn." Evans studied the structure, a mix of excitement and trepidation coursing through him. "How old?" Alara shook her head in disbelief. "Preliminary scans suggest it predates both human and Suliban civilizations by millions of years. We're looking at the work of an incredibly advanced precursor race." "Deploy probes," Evans commanded. "I want every scrap of data we can get on this thing, and keep our distance for now. We have no idea what this jump gate is capable of." The bridge crew sprang into action, coordinating the launch and control of multiple probe units. As data began streaming in, Evans noticed Alara's expression grow increasingly concerned. "Sir, I think we may have accidentally activated something," Alara replied, her voice tense. "The jump gate is emitting a signal, some kind of distress beacon, and it's powerful enough to reach far beyond our solar system." Before Evans could respond, the tactical officer called out, "Admiral, multiple unknown vessels approaching at high speed. They'll be here within hours." Evans felt a familiar rush of adrenaline, memories of the Zorn conflict flashing through his mind. "Battle stations, bring all weapons online and prepare for possible hostile contact." As the Unity's crew braced for a potential confrontation, Evans stared at the looming jump gate on the main view screen. They had come seeking to defend their solar system, only to stumble upon something that could change the course of history. Whatever came through that gate, he knew the human-Suliban alliance would face it together. The unknown vessels drew closer, their sleek designs unlike anything in the USSF database. Evans tensed, prepared to give the order to open fire if necessary, but instead of an attack, they received a transmission. "Unidentified vessel," a melodious voice echoed through the bridge. "We are the Ardari, caretakers of the ancient jump gate network. We come in peace and request permission to board for diplomatic talks." Evans exchanged a glance with Alara, seeing his own mix of caution and curiosity reflected in her eyes. He pressed the comm button on his chair. "This is Admiral Stephen Evans of the USS Unity. We accept your request for diplomatic talks, but be advised that any hostile action will be met with immediate force." As he gave orders to prepare for the Ardari's arrival, Evans couldn't shake the feeling that they stood on the brink of a new chapter in galactic history. The jump gate, the Ardari, the hints of an even more ancient civilization, it all pointed to a universe far vaster and more complex than they had ever imagined. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Evans knew that the strength of the human-Suliban alliance would be put to the ultimate test. As he watched the Ardari ships approach on the display, he straightened his uniform and prepared to face the unknown. Unknown as the Ardari ships drew closer. The bridge crew worked with precision, their human and Suliban members moving in perfect sync. As the Ardari vessels approached, their sleek, organic forms seemed to shimmer against the backdrop of stars. "Sir, we're being hailed," the communications officer announced. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being of startling beauty. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but its skin appeared to be made of living crystal, refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. "Greetings, USS Unity," the Ardari spoke, its voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. "I am Ambassador Zenra. We come in peace and wish to discuss the activation of the ancient jump gate." Evans stood straightening his uniform. "Ambassador, I'm Admiral Stephen Evans. We welcome peaceful dialogue. However, I must ask about your intentions regarding this technology." Before Zenra could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. Alara's fingers flew across her console. "Admiral, multiple quantum distortions detected. Something's coming through the jump gate." The massive ring structure pulsed with energy, its intricate patterns glowing with increasing intensity. Suddenly, the space within the ring shimmered and tore open, revealing a swirling vortex of impossible colors. From this cosmic maelstrom emerged a fleet of ships unlike anything Evans had ever seen. They seemed to be composed of pure energy, their forms shifting and flowing like liquid light. Evans's mind raced. They were now caught between two unknown forces, each potentially more powerful than anything humanity or the Suliban had ever encountered. He knew the next few moments would be crucial. Taking a deep breath, Evans made a decision that would alter the course of galactic history. "Open a channel to all ships," he commanded. "Ardari, precursors, and our own." As soon as the channel was open, Evans spoke with clear authority. "This is Admiral Stephen Evans of the USS Unity, representing the Human Suliban Alliance. I propose an immediate ceasefire and emergency negotiations aboard our vessel. We offer neutral ground for all parties to meet and discuss our shared concerns regarding the jump gate technology." For a moment, silence reigned. Evans held his breath, acutely aware of the weight of this moment. Then, to his relief and surprise, both the Ardari and the precursor fleet responded with agreement. "Prepare our largest cargo bay for the delegations," Evans ordered, turning to Alara. "We need to create a space that symbolizes equality among all present species." As the Unity's crew scrambled to prepare, Evans and Alara worked tirelessly to transform the cavernous cargo bay. They arranged seating in a circular pattern, with no position of prominence. Holographic displays were set up to accommodate the various forms of communication each species might require. Within hours, representatives from the Ardari and precursor fleets began to arrive. Evans watched in awe as the crystalline forms of the Ardari materialized in the Unity's transporter room. The precursors, however, simply phased into existence, their energy forms casting an ethereal glow throughout the ship. As the delegations gathered in the makeshift conference room, Evans took his place in the circle. He couldn't help but marvel at the scene before him, humans and Suliban, sitting alongside beings of living crystal and pure energy. "Welcome all," Evans began, his voice steady, despite the enormity of the moment. "We are gathered here to address the activation of the ancient jump gate and its implications for all our civilizations." The precursor representative, a pulsating form of golden light, spoke first. Its words seemed to bypass verbal communication, resonating directly in the minds of all present. "We have returned from our ascension to a higher plane of existence, concerned about the potential misuse of our technology." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Evans leaned forward, intrigued. "You created the jump gate network?" "Indeed," the precursor confirmed. "Eons ago, before we evolved beyond physical form." As the discussion progressed, Alara presented her findings on the similarities between Ardari and Zorn technology. The revelation sent shockwaves through the gathering. Ambassador Zenra's crystalline form seemed to dim slightly as all eyes turned to the Ardari delegation. Under the intense scrutiny, Zenra's composure cracked. It is true. The Ardari and Zorn share common ancestors. We split from them long ago due to ideological differences." The admission caused an uproar. The precursors demanded explanations, their energy forms flickering with agitation. Evans, seeing the negotiations on the brink of collapse, knew he had to act. Standing, he raised his hands for silence. "Fellow sentients, please. We have an opportunity here, not just to avoid conflict, but to forge a new path forward for all our civilizations." All attention turned to Evans as he continued. drawing upon his experiences in unifying humans and Suliban. I propose the formation of a galactic council with representatives from all present species, including humans and Suliban. This council would oversee the use of the jump gate network and promote peaceful cooperation among our civilizations. The cargo bay fell silent as the various delegations considered Evan's proposal. The precursor representative was the first to respond, its golden form brightening. Your species is young, yet you show wisdom beyond your years. We agree to this galactic council and offer to share some of our knowledge to help guide your responsible development. Ambassador Zenra, seeing a chance for redemption, quickly added the Ardari's support. We too agree to join this council. The Ardari will provide full disclosure of our technology and work to earn the trust of all present. As the negotiations concluded on a hopeful note, Evans felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The delegations prepared to return to their ships, but not before the precursors extended an invitation that took Evans's breath away. We will activate the jump gate, the precursor representative announced. We invite the USS Unity to be the first ship of the younger races to travel through, marking the dawn of a new era of galactic exploration. Evans exchanged a look with Alara, seeing his own excitement mirrored in her eyes. He turned back to the assembled delegations and nodded solemnly. We accept this honor with gratitude and humility. As the cargo bay emptied and the Unity's crew returned to their stations, Evans made his way to the bridge. The view screens showed the precursor fleet surrounding the ancient jump gate, their energy forms interfacing with the massive structure. All hands, this is the Admiral, Evans announced shipwide. Prepare for jump gate transit. We're about to make history. The Unity glided forward, its human and Suliban crew working in perfect harmony. As they approached the now active gate, Evans felt a mix of anticipation and trepidation. The swirling vortex of energy grew larger on the screen, a portal to the unknown. Steady as she goes, Evans commanded, his hands gripping the arms of his chair. Take us through. The Unity crossed the threshold, enveloped by a kaleidoscope of impossible colors. For a moment, Evans felt as if the ship and crew were everywhere and nowhere at once. Then, with a flash of light, they emerged. A new star system spread out before them, unlike anything they had ever seen. Twin suns cast a golden glow over a field of asteroids that shimmered with veins of exotic minerals. In the distance, a gas giant of swirling purple and green loomed, surrounded by a complex network of rings. Evans stood, moving closer to the view screen. He turned to find Alara already at his side, her expression one of wonder and perseverance. As their eyes met, Evans felt a swell of emotion. Pride in how far they'd come, excitement for the discoveries ahead, and a deepening of the bond between them. Alara nodded, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Indeed we do, Admiral. Where shall we begin? Evans turned back to the view screen, his mind already racing with possibilities. Helm, set a course for that gas giant. Let's see what secrets this new frontier holds for us. As the Unity moved deeper into the unknown system, Evans knew that this was just the beginning. The formation of the Galactic Council and the activation of the Jump Gate Network had opened up a universe of possibilities. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he was confident that the strength of the human-Suliban alliance and the new bonds forged with the Ardari and precursors would see them through. The bridge hummed with activity as the crew prepared for their first detailed scans of the alien system. Evans settled back into his command chair, ready to lead humanity and their allies into a new chapter of galactic history.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.